Thank you very much. So we are back. It's getting warmer, and I think the topics are getting a lot better. My next panelist is a managing partner at RODF, a consultancy that provides counsel to clients in the public and private sectors on strategic communication, organizational strategy, and stakeholder management. One of the pillars of our service delivery is the belief that next to the product, effective communication is the most important aspect of organizational success. Nkiru was the CEO of Spinlet, the leading digital distribution platform on the continent. In addition to a structural turnaround, Nkiru drove the rebranding of the company and ensured that it was profiled properly through tactical placement of strategic communication. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Nkiru Balong, Managing Partner, RDF. I'll welcome her when she comes back. Okay, thank you guys. There are no words to describe my next panelist, but I think it is safe to say that he bestrides the entertainment industry like a real colossus. He is the founder of Dragon Africa. He is the founder of Cabal Entertainment, which is a new 360 entertainment company. He is a co-founder and chairman of Social Media Week Lagos, the largest new media and technology conference in Africa, and is a co-founder and director of 5 Music, which provides support to independent artists in Nigeria. He is ex-this, ex-that, this and that and everything. Ladies and gentlemen, Obi Asika. I didn't know the meaning of a crush until I first saw my next guest. He was a student in University of Benin. I was a senior when she came in. You know how they do the jambite rushing and all of that at the time. I didn't rush her. I just had a crush. It was later on that I understood what I was having for her was a crush. And since I was too shy and too withdrawn to tell her, I didn't say anything until years later. But ladies and gentlemen, she is the managing director of the Audrey Silva Company, Task, and creative head of Mod Pictures Production, a subsidiary of Task, described by many as a consummate professional and a Nollywood industry game changer. Mildred produced and directed the acclaimed 2006 film 30 Days and the 2012 mega hit The Meeting. She is practiced in America as a lawyer and came back here as a filmmaker, which is her true calling. Ladies and gentlemen, Mildred Okwa.
She says she likes to try to stay. Would you be my lover? Yes, no, yes.
Well, I introduced Nkiru earlier on. She's here, the very delectable Nkiru Balong. By the way, I'm going to ask you to clap for her one more time because she was one of my supervisors for my project at University of Lagos. Yes. My next guest is a fantastic human being. She's provided a lot of entertainment for us here in Lagos and Nigeria. She's a good example of how, the new lawyers in entertainment should be. She holds a master's degree in international law from London School of Economics and Political Science and a law degree from the University of Lagos. She is the founder of Terra Culture, an educated and recreational organization. Ladies and gentlemen, Bolale Austin Peters! Thank you. Don't judge me. It's one of the little perks of hosting a show like this. You get to hug the women and kiss them. Don't judge me, please. My next guest and my last guest, ladies and gentlemen, many years ago, I got a call from a young comedian at the time and said to me, "Bros, I have somebody that is your kind of person. I would like to introduce a young man to you who just graduated, who is a friend of mine, very intellectual, very cerebral, is the kind of person that you can work with and also mentor." So I said, send the person over to me, and a few days later, the young man came to my office, and it was love at first sight. Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest needs no introduction. Bobby Ugboma! Thank you very much. What a panel.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to read my next question because being one of my teachers, it's important that I'm very careful. And I've been warned about her. And we'll try and rein her in a bit if she displays anything at all. Okay. Having been at the helm of affairs at Spinlec, what is your view on how the Nigerian entertainment law practitioners should react in terms of skills development and acquisition to the potentially, emphasis on potentially disruptive power of digital media to bypass traditional distribution platforms by going directly to the consumer? Thank you.
So I have to say, I'm usually not proud to say I'm a lawyer, but I am really proud today because SBL, you guys have done an amazing job. This place looks amazing. And I particularly want to say about Foza, who was on the panel before us, that I'm so impressed to know you and to have met you. I think you were amazing. I mean, totally impressed by women who were strong and powerful. And of course, Balanle and Mildred on the panel. Sorry, the guys, yeah, you guys are cool, but so really happy to be here today. It was a long question, so I wasn't really paying detailed attention. But so in terms of disruption, I think we talked about it before. I'm not a techie. So I'm a lawyer who ran a tech company. So I usually don't fall with the tech language. I feel that lawyers are constantly and will always be relevant as long as there's an agreement to be had. So as long as A and B need to agree on something, lawyers will always be relevant, and it's about how relevant we want to contain ourselves and maintain ourselves. I think Foza said it all. You sort of need to be informed at the forefront of, knowledge, as, acquiring stuff. I don't really have so much to say, but for the fact that I think that young lawyers get a lot of flack for not knowing, about the system, about, what's going on. But I do think that the schools, I used to teach at Unilag, for example, and I have to say, I think I was a good lecturer, but when I went to do my my doctorate, I found that I wasn't a great lecturer. And I feel that we as, academicians, we as, the people who have been there have sort of like failed the younger people who are coming after us. If you think about the university education system.
I've warned you, if you want to clap, clap.
So the universities, for example, are not providing the sort of rigorous curriculum that we need to be providing to the younger ones, and yet we blame ourselves, we blame the younger to not being on point. I think the Nigerian Bar Association owes a duty to the lawyers as well to provide continuous legal education, which I don't think we are providing. So in terms of development of skills, I do think that we as lawyers owe a responsibility to ourselves to constantly be informed. But again, the system owes a responsibility as well to the students to inform them better. As I said, I wasn't the best lecturer, but I only found that out because I then went to school and I'm like, oh, wow, this is how to teach. You learn from people who are practicing law, who have actually immersed themselves in the system. But here, for example, where I was teaching, you can't have, they won't let you teach as a part-timer. You have to be a full-time professor to actually be a teacher. That doesn't work. So how do you actually learn in practice? How do you sort of send the information back to the people who are actually needing the practical information? So I think generally, in terms of disruption, I feel that lawyers would always be relevant, but you must make yourself indispensable. You must also always be informed. You must actually know that the biggest thing that you know is that you know nothing. I think generally we as lawyers always think we know everything, but I think the best people that I've met are the people who are sure that they don't actually know anything, which means that you're constantly looking for information. You're constantly finding partners who know it. I generally don't know anything, but I know people who know stuff. I know people, I can find you information from, if you ask me to do a thing on, do a surgery on somebody, I could find out how to do it from a surgeon. But I think we here, we're sort of closed-minded. We sort of don't want people to let into the law clique. So we keep hoarding information. We're not transparent. But, as a lawyer, I actually have never represented myself, whether it's a contract. I don't read my own contracts because I always get emotional about it, so I miss the big picture. I always give it to another lawyer. Please help me review this thing. Whereas what we do here is we're like, oh, you come into a conversation, you come in with the attitude of knowing everything, which is an impossibility. So
God forbid that as a lawyer I know.
Yeah. So that's the point. But I'll let somebody else speak.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. I am sure that the chair and SBL, they have all kinds of plans about how to re-educate and open the minds of young lawyers and everything to this rather potentially disruptive world that we find ourselves. Bolonle, you have seen, you've done it all, as it were. Now, what do you consider the single most important legislative reform or proposal that could help the entertainment industry to live to its full potential? I could actually reverse this question and say, what legal regime should there be that can make you do 10 times more than what you're doing, or get more lawyers to replicate what you're doing already?
Okay, thank you for inviting me. In terms of what you asked me, running TerraCulture itself is a challenge to put together an organization like that in Nigeria. The laws, let's start from the taxation issues. At TerraCulture, for instance, we pay close to 12 taxes, as an institution.
Hello?
And if you
12, they pay close to 12 taxes.
Different types of taxes,
Okay.
from consumption, television, all sorts of weird things come every day. Local government gives us about 6, and then state about 6 as well. So that would discourage anybody from coming into this space. Typically what you would expect is that government would like to support initiatives like ours. So for as long as in Nigeria, we don't recognize that the creative mind and the creative energy in Nigeria is what is going to propel this country forward, we're in trouble. We can legislate as many laws as we want to. If you look around the world, anywhere you look at today, we're in the conceptual age. It is those with ideas that will rule the world. From your Zuckerbergs to your Steve Jobs, it's the people that create products. So when you look at RMD, who comes, he acts, he performs. You look at Mildred, she directs, she produces content from her brain. You look at Bovi, he comes, he produces content from his mind, and he creates things that you and I can't see. These are the people that will rule the world. So for as long as our energy, you don't believe me? That is the truth. The fact of the matter is, if oil could save us, we won't be where we are today as a nation. It is the creative mind that drives any economy anywhere in the world. So when you discourage people like us from doing business, when I have to pay taxes like an oil company, I'm struggling with a Chevron or a Texaco to pay the same kind of levy. It's a discouragement for people like us. You don't want to stay in business. So if we're going to legislate more laws, I don't think that it is the lack of laws in Nigeria really that is our problem. It is the implementation or the effectiveness of those laws really that is the issue. So if I were to suggest, there's so many things, but the one thing that comes to mind is that government needs to come out, and that is federal, and if we want state, come out and almost make a proclamation that artists and the creative industry has to be given special treatment, as they have to be in a separate category. You cannot continue to deal with the creative industry like you deal with the oil sector or the banking sector or the financial services sector. It's impossible. Everywhere in the world, these institutions thrive through grants and through philanthropy. Philanthropy in Nigeria is more or less dead. We're not in the space where we support. There's philanthropy to the extent that we give rank-a-day, beggars, you give them money. But in terms of institutional philanthropy, it is lacking in Nigeria. You don't have people who build the Smithsonians. You have very few individuals with a lot of money who are willing to invest in the arts. So when you look at a space like ours, when I, in my semi-poor state, can build a theater, imagine the number of Nigerians who are in a position to build theaters and haven't built theaters in Nigeria. And yet, we complain that we don't have jobs for our children. The creative industry has the capacity to employ 90% of the youths that we have in Nigeria today.
Word.
And I just say this to close, because if you look around you, the average Nigerian is creative. We can sing, we can dance, we can perform, we make clothes, even IT, sports, anything, because the creative industry is really wide. So you look across the entire gamut and you ask yourself the question, why isn't government building theaters, galleries, film schools, performing spaces? These are the things we need in Nigeria, not more schools, not more universities that are teaching us sciences that we cannot use anywhere else in the world, but apart from in our bedrooms. So we need to begin to address these kind of issues if we're going to make any form of progress. But let me stop at that and let somebody else speak.
Okay. Obi, I don't have a scripted question for you. I will just let you take off from here, but only stop. Show us, lawyers and everybody, pop our eyes open with the contribution of the creative industry. Show us the money streams. I know you don't work for Pricewaterhouse, but just take us through, 5 minutes of just tripping on the Nigerian entertainment space.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I was here a couple of times before. It was a smaller room. SBL has grown, so we'll be waiting for Esther codes for the next year. Right? Allowances, Mina. In terms of the creative industry, I think I'll just touch on what Nkiru said first of all. And the first thing is for lawyers not to be afraid of engaging. Right? Do not be afraid of this thing called creative industries or entertainment or any other thing that operates in that space. And just to sort of define it a little bit, we're talking about the IP industries, things that are created from the mind, and you're talking across film, television, music, live event production, fashion. I would put Nigerian cuisine into that conversation, and definitely sports, architecture, technology, software, all those spaces. Now, the truth of the matter is this, is that we're all in Nigeria, and we all see, I believe the government of today has been talking about made in Nigeria, and as a big look to where we should be going. My perspective on this is that what is more made in Nigeria than the Nigerian himself, right? So that means that the primary actual value Nigeria has is the people of Nigeria. And their human expression is the creative industries. So therefore, it should make logical sense that the primary place where you should be investing is in that human capacity. Therefore, made in Nigeria, some of us have been doing it already for 25 years, with or without government. And I think what Richard is talking about is that if you're looking at numbers and where the money lies, the money at this point in time well, everybody likes to use this word, disruption. Bovi sat up, so I could say some of the money lies with him, but the reality of, and I don't know why I didn't mention comedy as well, because comedy is another big thing driving the creative explosion or the entertainment industry explosion. The truth of the matter is, we do not have, Richard talked about the wedding party. We only have 129 screens in Nigeria, people. China built 9,000 screens last year. 9,000, just take that figure in last year. They built 40,000 since 2011. Now, that is more screens that are on the entire continent. We have so much further to grow. I would tell you the truth is we have not even actually started. What has been happening in Nigeria is that individuals who are talented, who were told when they were children that they had to be lawyers and doctors, became adults and embraced their real talent and started expressing it. And there was no system. That is how Nollywood came. That is how the theater has evolved. That's how the music has come. And the lawyers who are, and it's funny because I hear about lawyers being afraid of it, but many of us here have a legal background. So the reality of it is you must stay connected to people. Richard wanted me to tell you some numbers. I mean, a number that a lot of people may not know is that you see all the PwC reports, you see these reports. The things I'm looking at is, okay, in Nigeria, in the last 5 years, nobody has gone on tour. No Nigerian musician has done a tour. We have 36 states. We have 40 stadiums. People are still doing concerts in a co-hotel. That's actually not a concert, it's a recital. No, I mean, you need to understand this, right? Because you are not actually talking about the real ecosystem of value. If you put 500,000 people in TBS tomorrow at 1,000 naira, is that not 500 billion? I don't even know, I can't do the maths. But it's a lot of money, right? And they will actually come out to watch Wizkid or Davido or Fino. And guess what? It's actually quite safe now. It may not be safe for you guys because you guys will want to go to the after party on the island. But the truth of the matter is, just like in the telecoms industry and everything else, the real money is at the bottom of the barrel. It's with the masses. That's where the money is. That's where the ecosystem is. And when you're ready to engage them, they will support you.
We'll come back. Mildred, you're a lawyer. You practice in America. You practice here. You are a filmmaker today. Okay, sorry, you haven't practiced here. But with your background in law and entertainment, how would you describe the complexities in the industry, its relationships with the legal profession, and of course your projections for the future?
Thanks. Thank you very much for having me. And just like Obi, the last time I was here, it was in a small room somewhere. Now there's hundreds of people here. So it's fantastic. We have growth. I moved back to Nigeria 10 years ago, and I thought I was, because then I used to buy a DVD, a Nigerian DVD for $16.99 in Los Angeles. So I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to go make films in Nigeria, so it must be huge. And I come back. In fact, I remember seeing you at dinner at Olive Restaurant, and you were tired at that point. You understand? And there were no lawyers, no structures, no accountants. So I was wondering, how do you have an entertainment industry without lawyers? Because it's the lawyers that do the deals in LA. So I'm making a film. There'll be a lawyer somewhere that's heard I'm making a film and that it's good. They will be the one running after me. Not me running to them to, please, can you guys help me draft a contract? The lawyer will know everything I'm doing. It's the lawyer that will do the deals with the cinemas, will do the deals with the product placement companies, will do the deals, international deals, will do all kinds of deals. I wouldn't have to deal with that. All I need to do is create. And I came back here, it wasn't there. In fact, I noticed that most Nigerians in the formal sector didn't even really believe in the industry. So that was the biggest shock. But I can see now that things are changing. Because when you really look at it, that's our biggest thing, is entertainment and sports. Most Nigerians are talented. They have one talent or the other. I'm sure here, if we talk to a lot of people, some of them wanted to be something else but lawyers, and I was supposed to be I was supposed to be a lawyer, but I went on to start making films. So I think one of the complexities is that a lot of the people in this industry built it without lawyers. So you have 20, 25 years now, we're telling them, you need lawyers to make this thing even bigger. So that's where it's very complex, because they don't understand. They think...
Sorry. So who should tell the lawyers to come in now? Or are we supposed to still keep going to the lawyers as entertainers, or the lawyers, now that they are listening, they will come in now?
You see the lady that was sitting over there?
Yes.
If you had a bunch of entertainers, she would sign about 50 of them immediately today, the way she was talking. That is the kind of lawyer that most entertainers want.
Follow me. Take a bow.
No, they want
Thank
to
you.
see. They want to see that you're behind them. Because I've been on both sides, I understand. They want to see that you want somebody. They want creative people like Don Jazzy. They're sleeping at this time. It's at night they will call you. Do you understand? Can you imagine me calling some lawyers that has been in court all day, and you're going to call him at 1 o'clock to talk about your deal? So that's what I'm just trying to tell people who want to come to the industry. And I think, like you asked, the future is huge. So for example, I'm creating a TV series that I want to go around the world. The lawyer that comes with me is going to make bank, because they're going to get a percentage of whatever it is I'm making. It's not the structures. The structures shouldn't be the way you structure the business. You know, when you're dealing with your business, Coca-Cola, all those people, it's not about billables and all that. To me, I think it's about percentages. When you're in LA, you're making a film, or you're making music, you already know what percent goes to the lawyer. It's standard, everybody knows it. You already know what percentage goes to your manager. You know what percentage might go to the accounting firm that works. So you already take that off from your salary. So they tell you it's $1 billion, you know, a lot of people are going to get a crack at it. But they've worked for it. So what I'm happy about is that things are beginning to change. I'm sure you've heard of some people as we don't have any laws, and not that we don't have the legislation or laws, we don't have them tested. So you may have heard recently that somebody sued somebody for for using their script. They're going to be creating new laws there because nobody has done that before. And that's amazing that this industry, to me, has been around for 20-something years. So it's so imperative that lawyers come into this space, because I still say, lawyers, without lawyers, accountants, and the PwCs of the world, we will not get to the next level. And yet, this is something that we do so well. This is what Africans have talent. So why can't we make it what we know how, like you just said, this is what we know how to do. Why can't we create a structure that is so good that others will start coming from around the world to want to copy it?
Thank you very much. Well, Bobby, you have done shows successfully here. You are constantly on fire in Nigeria and abroad. What has been your relationship with lawyers, or if you have any, and do you need a lawyer? Do lawyers run to you, or do you chase after lawyers? What has been your experience?
My relationship with lawyers has been, for the most part of it, very suspicious. Like she pointed out, until Miss Fahimi spoke, I kept saying it, that lawyers come to me. I have a lawyer. And my lawyer happens to be my brother, because I know that, okay, he can't cheat me. That's how I feel. I feel safe. What I have not been offered is that security. So lawyers come to me, they talk to me, but I don't see what's in it for me. As a creative mind, I don't know if that's how it obtains for every other creative mind, but for me, simplicity is key. I just want to understand the contract as simple as possible. If it's complicated, I want somebody to just tell me what's complicated there. Many of the lawyers who have approached me, what they offer is what my business manager is already doing for me. So that's how I got to realize that if I have to work with any new lawyer, they need to make me see how I can make more money, and they need to pursue it. They need to pursue it. And like, I just want to create, and I just want to put it out there. Some time back, a company approached me, one of these go-between companies. They wanted a ringback tune for a telecoms company, and they said I should create my jokes and all that. So I told them, look, I know how this thing works. First of my jokes and narratives is going to be too long. Give me time, I'll create something that will hit at the spot. And they said, okay, no problem. It took about 10 months. When it came out,
I have a dream that one day.
Exactly, the pidgin version. And when it came out, when I gave it to them, they couldn't even recognize it. They couldn't see it. And they had lawyers as well. They couldn't see the potential in it. They said, no, the client's not going to like it. I said, then, so be it. Then weeks later, they call me and say, the client likes it. They're surprised. I said, okay. So we got to business. We signed the deal. It was a big hit. I made millions out of that. But I was happy, but sadness overshadowed my happiness, simply because the sharing formula was not good for me. I don't see why, as a creative force, I was getting 20% of a successful business. Just 20%. And the 20% is what they told me. I didn't get to see the back end of it. That's what the middleman told me. So the telecoms company gets 60%, I get 20, they get 20, according to them. When you asked her question, what's the single most important legislature?
Yes.
For me, the way you answered it,
or law reform.
You answered it in a very elaborate way. For me, I like to break it down like ABC. They should put into law that the creative mind gets 50% net profit at least, after selling a particular number, probably 1 million units or 2 million units. Then we will work so hard. And look, it's a game of numbers. So for us, we just want money without going to court.
Bovi, let me just. You're making sense, but unfortunately for the lawyers who are getting excited, the review of the revenue share between telcos and talent is not actually an individual thing. The lawyer did not mess up there. That is what happens with leverage, okay? The telcos are billion-dollar corporations. The talent are generally individuals. Even with the best lawyer in the world, the industry standard is actually 60-40 to 70-30 to 80-20, depending on how they look at the premium of the talent. Now, the share you took, your management probably should not have taken as 20%, as much as 20% for doing that deal. They should have taken a residual like 10%, and you should have gotten at least 30. But the truth of the matter is that where lawyers in the NBA and the SBL could actually come and support the industry is helping to sit on a class action to change these revenue shares. Because, listen, I mean, if you just look at MTN Loaded in 2015, I think we're talking about $120 million on ringtones. And I can tell you, I mean, we have some of that content, we didn't see no dollars, right? So at the end of the day, it's just like theoretical money in the air that is going away to the telco. And by the time because what they do is, the platform that's being built, sunken assets, which is in essence now distribution, because don't forget, voice is dying, right? So all the telcos are killing themselves for content. These are the content creators. So the future of everything a telco is doing is actually distribution. That's actually what is happening right now. So we are all trying to, at least COSON and others are trying to adjust this thing to maybe a 60-40, right? I don't think we'll get to 50-50. I just have to be honest.
Okay, advocacy. Now here's the thing. Some of the speakers here attested to the fact that before today, we used to have this session in very small rooms. You were here, Mildred was here, and today we are like in a real plenary, session. So there is significant growth, both on the legal side and of course on the other side. I'm going to come into the audience, hopefully take a few more questions before. I know that we've spent some time, and the thing about after parties. Okay, this is that time when I come in here and just ask a few questions before we round up. I know that we are hearing the sound of the after party. It's not very good for transaction here, but are there questions? Even if the questions are for people that were once in the on the panel, you can go ahead and ask your questions and we'll take it. Let's take one from this side first. Yes, anybody? Give the mic to the young man there. Yes. Quickly, your name and then your question. If it is a contribution, don't worry. Just questions for now. Here, take this one.
Okay, my name is Rilwan Are, Fortress Solicitors, Lagos. My question is this. I know at the advent of the film industry, we had issues of marketers determining content. A marketer, you bring a movie before him and he says something like, if this person's face is not there, if this person's face is not there, I'm not marketing this. What has the entertainment industry done about that? Because these people also seem to hijack the market, even from the lawyers. They seem to determine content, even to an extent of recent.
No, I think you have your wires crossed. They don't determine content. They just look for marquee names that can guarantee their investment. That does not disturb what lawyers do in terms of their role. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The industry is very rich, but we need to deal with the issue of piracy. And then I have worked for a musician who is a struggling musician, and so he could not pay my fees. I have worked for a producer who told me that he just entered into this particular agreement with a potential musician, and so he has not made any money, so he cannot pay me. So I don't know. I wanted to find out from my sister. I wanted to find out from my sister because she spoke so well, eloquently well. All of a sudden, I wanted to be.
Okay. Oh, okay. No, if you ask the question directly,
yes,
to help us.
Yes, I said all of a sudden, because of the way she spoke. So I want to be an entertainment lawyer because there's so much money. She has given me an idea to make. So is it true that there's so much money in this particular entertainment industry? I want to know from her.
Let her answer quickly. Answer.
Hello. So quickly, what I've done is I create business cases for different people. So if you're a struggling producer or you're a struggling artist, I make sure I am in charge of your rights management. So I determine where it goes to, I monitor where it goes to, and I make my percentage and my money off it. It might take 6 months or a year, but I'll make more money than the initial upfront money I'll make. So I see it as an investment into your career, and we have a contract to that effect. Should in case you want to mess up, I'll catch you in front.
I think that it is important that we'll address this. You are probably also looking for ready-made artists. No, it is something that you have to grow sometimes. It is not every time you will find an established star. You must grow it. Don't be in a hurry to run away from it after the first year doesn't yield fruit. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good evening. My name is Obianuju Otudo.
Yes.
Okay, the question goes to Bovi and Obiasika. My question to you, Bovi, because you are in the industry, is that how do we get these entertainers to make sure that what Stephen was talking about, making lawyers the first point of call? Because what I see, because I've done a number of entertainment law matters, I see that they don't run to lawyers until when they have problems. And when they now come, the matter has already gone so bad sometimes, then we are in the work of repairing like doctors. So how do we start changing the mindset of entertainers? Because it's a good thing that we have Zakiaze, you here, but most of them don't come for these kind of events. And the truth is that I understand what Faremi was saying, that you have to chase them, sometimes go to their events and everything. But sometimes those places are not the right place to talk about those kind of things. So how do we change their mindset?
Okay, imagine you telling me or telling Bovi that, oh, by the way, Bovi, I was at your event, lovely event and all that, as a discussion starter. It might make a whole lot of difference. There is advocacy on our parts already, on the parts of entertainers, to make sure that they consult lawyers from day one. So we don't waste time answering a question that is obvious, that the answer is obvious. Yes, ma'am. It's the truth. You look, okay, hello, it's my show. Listen. I run it. Listen, run it. It doesn't matter whether you are paying, I run it. You paid me to do it. Now listen, it is not about you running to artists or letting the artists run to you. It is about first and foremost understanding the industry. From your reaction and his reaction, it is still what we are talking about. Most of you want to go from the traditional point. It has passed. That time has passed. You have to be a part of the industry. You must be a part of the growing. You must be a part of the sowing. I mean, what does this young lady has been telling you the same thing, and you are not listening? Yes.
And I totally understand that. But the thing is that even when you speak the language, many artists, I have a lot of growing clients that we start off with, they don't pay us. Because I have this passion for intellectual property and entertainment, just on the ground level. Just come, let's protect you. We don't want you to fall into the hands of the big people. But the thing is that these things, even right now, I don't want to mention names, they are falling into that trap of signing contracts. Just like what one of the speakers said, she, because of her passion, she just went to sign. Yes, she just went to go and sign. So we have to start turning the mindset of entertainers to know that lawyers are also important, while we also join in and also train the...
There is an entertainer here. Quickly react to that.
Well, Nami go marry am. I supposed to marry. Okay, I just think that there's a bridge, there's a gap between the lawyers and the entertainers. Like what the madam is talking about. You know, entertainers is like you have a doctor. You know, a doctor to treat you well has to be very friendly with you, have to understand you. Like they were saying on stage, you know, you don't right now for entertainers you don't go by the book. You can't deal with entertainers going by what you read in law school. Yeah, you can use what you read in law school, but you have to be a little bit diplomatic. You have to be friendly. Like she got on stage and I was already dancing, you know. It makes you feel comfortable to discuss everything. And I just learned a lot from the lady from the United States, you know. I now discovered that lawyers can even act as your managers, even sometimes, because they can negotiate deals for you. You understand? So I think there's a gap. You need to find a way. And please don't be disappointed if 1 or 2 or 3 or even 4 artists disappoint you. There must be one artist that is for you. And believe me, there's a lot of money in that business.
Thank you very much. Clean the room quickly. Yes, you will. Okay. Clean the drunk, everybody. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm off duty today. Well, actually, all I wanted to find out is there a way that the lawyers can come into helping entertainers protect their products? Understand what I mean? Like, a lot of people will say, okay, copyright can do that and everything, but there are some things like, Bovi, you're a fellow comedian. Sometimes you go on stage, instantly an idea pops in. You'll say it. One comedian from somewhere.
One small boy from Ajigula.
Exactly, with his phone. This phone thing, with a record, collects the whole thing, goes out and uses it instantly. You understand? So as you're rolling something out, someone is collecting it immediately and the person is taking it somewhere. By the time you know what's happening, it's everywhere. It's like, and at the end of the day, because he's a cheaper artist, they think it's his joke, and you know. So that's the piracy we're talking about. Now, how can the lawyers step into this, you know, try to help us?
Okay, Ms. Firemi.
Quickly, it's very practical. I can give you 10 practical ways, but you have to pay me to do that, because that goes to the root of, especially for comedians, it goes to the root of event production. Now, it's as simple as, celebrities do it, they have weddings and it doesn't leak. So there's a formula to it, you know, and when you involve lawyers from the beginning, from pre-production stage, everything is set out. You 100% you might not be able to get it right, but to 90%, I promise you, it's something that we can do. So engage me.
Okay, just a second. Give her. By the way, Ali Baba is in the house. Okay, the young lady there.
Good afternoon. My name is Promise Madbobu. Well, I've heard what the panelists said.
A question.
Yes, my question is simple. We've heard how lawyers can come in, and I also think that as a way to encourage lawyers to step in, they should have a way of ensuring that the content of the production of some of these entertainers are worth investing in. Just sometimes you see some things that are being produced, and lawyers get so logical that they might not see the reason why they should invest in that kind of thing. So I know lawyers are people who, you see people with different challenges. Some lawyers actually didn't know they were going to be lawyers and ended up as lawyers. Some people still think they're going to move into the entertainment industry and do stuff. So these people have passion. So lawyers are willing to invest in this. They're very, very opportunistic people. They like trying in new things, and I know they will do this. But we also find a way to say, let your content be worth investing in.
Fantastic. Due diligence as well on part of lawyers. Okay, Mr. Mena, you wanted to speak to just a quick contribution to what Clean the Drunk said.
Okay, what you just narrated is the theft of idea. Now, people come up with jokes, and before you know, another person steals it. Now, in the United States, you have similar incidents where at one point, one guy was accosted on the stage that this joke does not belong to you, you stole it. Now, within the framework of the comedians, they came up with a set of rules. Now, the copyright deals with it, but unfortunately, it does not deal with it effectively. So you have to creatively, prefer means. Like you say, if you have illness, you also go to the doctor. We did a study, and 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, we were speaking at a comedy event, and we preferred the solution, and we also preferred how to go about it. Now, an idea, no matter how sentimental you want to become, an idea is not protectable. That is the law. And the doctrine of fair use and the doctrine of fair, it's negative to what you're trying to say. But within the confines of the law and practice and custom, we have been able to create a method of protecting your IP rights and your jokes. Now, when you come to the lawyer, you get it sorted. I'm sure she will provide a solution to it. The lawyers, your normal lawyer, interact with them. There's a solution for it on protecting your jokes. It's prevalent, it's not only here. Two professors, Professor Spiegman and Odia, they came up with solution and rules guiding this. That is in the United States of America. There are no decided cases on that point. So you won't find jurisprudence. It's very lean. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mena. We will take one from that side. Just get to one person there, and then we'll call it a day.
Thank you. Very quickly, it's Chuku Meji from Hamilton Chapel. My question is, how do you get the industry itself to self-regulate? I want to put this in context. Some time ago, I was engaged to do an entertainment contract, music production. And what do you know? They already had a template, of course, downloaded off the internet. And so they said, just go through this thing and see what we can do. Let us sign and go our ways. I said, hold on. I also had to rework the entire paperwork. And at the end of the day, of course, it was heavily skewed against the artist. And so I asked them, please, why not cut this guy some slack? I know you're engaging me, but these terms are a little bit strict. They said, no, don't go there. He has already agreed. The young man is even happy that somebody is willing to invest in his production. And I said, okay, how do we do this? There wasn't nothing I could do, but I made sure I inserted at least a renegotiation clause so that when he wakes up one morning and feels that he's in trap, he can at least have a way out. So question is, amongst artists themselves, amongst the industry, how do you self-regulate to protect young upcoming acts from perhaps overhidedness of production companies?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll just finally, I will answer that question in my wrapping up. Okay, all right. Finally, Ali Baba has something to say. Go on, Ali. Go on, Ali.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am just coming in now, and I think the theft of ideas, or for my case, jokes and intellectual property is a fundamental problem. It is not something that we can deal with right here. And I say right here because it's an underlying problem that has not been solved. It's a problem of poverty, the problem of a lack of education, not poor education, lack of education. And then the punishments that people get for stealing other people's properties are just so lean. And it gets up to a point where people tell you, let them go. Somebody called AY when AY went to report at the police station that his movie had been pirated, and they said, but you don't chop money now. At other times, I'm somewhere and somebody is performing, and I hear my jokes. It took a while for me to get over it. So what I believe is that a lot of people do not know that it is theft. A lot of them don't know that it is theft. The other thing is that they know it is theft, but they think it's permissible. The third thing is a lot of these guys that steal are people who just want to make it by all means. They want to blow. It's our industry, so we know how these things go. So what we're actually dealing with is that there's lack of information, and the punishments are not so glaring. So for these days, when you watch a movie, FBI will tell you if you know somebody took this movie or pirated it, report, and you get so and so. If you try it here in Nigeria, police will collect money for you for reporting that. We all know. So what I would say is we need to begin to tackle this from the basics. We need to teach it in schools. We need to teach it to our children. We need to let our colleagues know that it is wrong to copy or steal anybody's. Somebody came to me and said, oh, she just did a remix of a Fela song. I said, did you have rights for it? She said, Fela song, rights. And immediately it hit me that she didn't know any better. And talking about lawyers, I need to respond to somebody who said content.
Quickly.
Yes, I need to respond to somebody said that we need to have better content. Do politicians have better content before banks give them 5 billion to run for an election? No, they don't. It is about ROI. You know that the politician will get into office and you get your money back. It's ROI. So for us we would like to be placed in those kind of categories. But when it comes to dealing with this, and I think we should start from the fundamental problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me start by inviting every other of my panelists back on stage. A round of applause to every of my panelists that was here. Please, Stephen. Final thoughts on this matter. Final thoughts on this matter. We have opened the door. What is remaining is for lawyers to engage. Engagement can be in any form. Engage by night, by morning, afternoon, whatever time. But the key word is you must engage any which way. Is there money? To answer your question, there is plenty of money. Many revenue lines, plenty. What do we need to do? We need to crack open more avenues. It is a form, it is an industry that gives spaces to innovation all the time. And what we need to do is to get out of our comfort zone, our traditional ways of doing business, and start to engage in any way you can. Last word also for government. The arts has always been something that government protects, from the palaces of our kings and obas and all of that to present day. So government must, as a matter of urgency, find and seek ways to protect the intellectual, the creatives in whatever thing that they do. So on behalf of SBL and all their future plans concerning entertainment and how lawyers can profit, my name is Richard Mofe Damijo. And I'll see you next time. Thank you very much, my guests. Thank you very much.